Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is To Back or Not to Back, where we go through a variety of crowdfunding campaigns, talking about the campaigns, the games, the pledge levels, the stretch goals, all of that and more. But first, and most importantly, I have an apology to make. Like, I'm using the deeply serious apology tone because obviously this is a very deeply serious apology, but genuinely I do feel bad, but maybe not deeply serious apology level bad. Many of you may not know this, so those of you who don't stick around to the end of the show every single week definitely don't know this, but every single week for the past, I want to say 2.5, 3 years in my To Back or Not to Back series, this wasn't always here, but once upon a time I had a funny joke that I wanted to tell, and I didn't know who to tell it to. That's not true, I told it to everyone in my personal life, but then I ran out of people in my personal life, and so I was like, what else can I do? And so I stuck it at the end of my To Back or Not to Back show. I just kind of waited till the end of the show, kind of let it go to dead air for like 7 seconds or so. By that point, most people had clicked away, hopefully. I mean, how many people actually make it to the end of the video anyway? But I then told, after 7 seconds of dead air, I told the joke. And thus a tradition was started. A tradition in which every single week in To Back or Not to Back, at the end of the week, I tell a notoriously bad dad joke at the end of each week, after like 7 to 10 seconds of dead air, to let those people who don't actually know it's happening just kind of skip away. And to that end, I have no clue how many people watch the dad joke every single week. I don't know, but what I do know is this. Last week, there was no dad joke. Well, that's not entirely true. Last week there was a dad joke, but the problem is I had an audio issue with my To Back or Not to Back, so I had to go ahead and do some quick edits to it and go ahead and make some edits and put it back up and copy the audio from my other I made the fixes. I made the fixes. But in the process of making the fixes, I accidentally fell victim to my own dead air mistake and cut the video at the end of me talking instead of at the end of those 7 seconds of dead air. And so last week's dad joke was cut. And those of you who expect a dad joke out of every single episode of To Back or Not to Back, those of you who look forward to it every single week, those 7 of you, I mean, I probably should have used a different number. I used the 7 for the second. So those 9 of you who look forward to the dad joke at the end of every week did not get it last week. I'd like to tell you that you're going to get 2 dad jokes this week, but you're not, because that would ruin the format. I don't think I could do 7 seconds, then dad joke, then 7 seconds, then dad joke. And so I think you're just out of luck. There wasn't a dad joke last week. There will be a dad joke this week. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry to those of you who have disappointed. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into our To Back or Not to Back. But first, as usual, we are going to go ahead and start off with our Cult of the Now. Cult of the Now is the reminder that before you go ahead and back games that might be available in a year and a half, the ratings you don't yet know, the when you're going to get them you don't yet know, the tariff amount you don't yet know, to that end we have Cult of the Now to remind you can get your hands on great games available now. Today's game is Hutan, which I particularly enjoyed from the op. I thought it was a very clever puzzle system. I really enjoyed it. It kind of took a play to get my feet wet in it, but then by the time I finished my first play, I was like, that was harder than I thought it would be, and I enjoyed that gameplay. But that's Hutan. I think it's great. Definitely check it out. Currently available for $36 over on Game Nerds, and it's just what you see is what you get. No, none of this crowdfunding, nonsense that we're about to dive into. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into the crowdfunding nonsense. We have 12 games to cover this week, and 1, not 2, dad jokes to get to at the end of the episode. We have licensed inserts coming to you from eRaptor. They're doing licensed inserts for Alderac Entertainment Group. 143 backers, $11,000 raised, 8 days to go. These are a bunch of kind of what you see. This is the board game adjacent category. We'll dive into the full games in a second, but we have 2 of these to go through over here. But we have licensed inserts for Tiny Towns and Computos and Guild of Merchants Explorers. Basically just kind of designed cool wooden inserts from eRaptor, but with the art and graphics from the AEG campaigns. So if you're interested in any very premium, very cool inserts, not the cheapest price points, but you are getting premium, so you pay that premium price point, there are a whole bunch of these inserts available. As far as tariffs, you don't have to worry about that. By the way, I'll be covering what each campaign is doing about tariffs as part of our weekly segment over here. At least while tariffs are still something to be mindful of, I'll be telling you what every campaign is doing to handle that state of the unknown. In the case of eRaptor, you got lucky. These are not manufactured in China, so the current tariffs don't really apply to them. Granted, I think there is 10% tariffs on the rest of the world in general, but at least that's significantly less than the 145 on China, so minimal tariffs, and it doesn't sound like there will be an impact that you have to worry about, at least as far as the these E-Raptor inserts are concerned. From there we have Realm Reforged, Essential Fantasy Miniatures, Physical and STL from Wildspire Miniatures. If these miniatures look familiar to you, that's because they are the Blacklist Games miniatures. Wildspire Miniatures bought the STLs, and they released the STL files to Blacklist backers who did not get their miniatures, but this is an opportunity to get the physical miniatures for those who want them, and yes, there is a deal for previous Blacklist backers as well. If you don't fully know what's going on there, Blacklist Games sold these miniatures, lots of people backed them, and then in the case of the second set, lots of people didn't get their miniatures, and they were just out of their money. While Wildspire Miniatures can't fully make that up to everyone, because it's not their problem, they bought these miniatures, what Blacklist screwed up on is not necessarily their fault, they are offering a discount on the set to people who are Blacklist backers. So that's kind of the catching you up and everything. Past that, this is primarily a bunch of miniatures. I believe there's a 5e supplement in there as well. 2,000 backers, $181,000 raised. And this is giving you both sets, the original set and then the second set that many people did not actually get. So the first set actually existed, was produced, lots of people got it, albeit late. The second set was, I don't believe, ever actually produced. The sculpts were made, but the set did not actually go into production. But yeah, that's a whole bunch of miniatures over here. You can get the Realm set of 195 miniatures for $96. I believe it's going to be $49 or $48, something like that. I think maybe it's $48 for Blacklist backers who backed it but did not get their set. And then we have the Realm set, the STLs, for $49. We have the Complete Fantasy set for 371 miniatures for $198. I don't believe there's a discount on this one, although I don't know if they're doing like a partial option on that. And then we have $95 for the STLs of those miniatures. You can scroll through the page here. There's a whole lot of miniatures. I'm not going to be going through every single one, but that is as far as the miniatures go. As far as tariffs, I believe the tariffs, so they kind of address this in the FAQ, I want to say, and this is the part where I have to remember where each person addressed the tariffs, but I believe they semi-addressed the tariffs, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, tariffs. Nope. Okay, one second. Hold on here, because I again have to remember each campaign. There we go. Okay, so this one I believe the problem was, there we go. Okay, so basically they talked about how currently each US-based backer would have to pay $7 in extra fees. Potentially, they're going to try to absorb the cost themselves, but they say that's if the tariffs stay at 54%. The problem with that is we are past 54%, we're at 145%, so this kind of update is based on a previous tariff amount, which means you don't necessarily know yet exactly how much you're going to have to be paying on this one, because the last information I could see from them is based on an old number. I tried checking through the comments and the updates, I didn't see any official update on this, so if there is something that I missed, I apologize, but it seems that their current information is you'll have to pay a small amount if the tariffs stay at 54%, and since the tariffs did not stay at 54%, it is a little bit in the unknown category until they clarify that. Past that, of course, is also shipping. If you go down to shipping over here, you'll see the various options for, again, depending on where you are, but 18 or 24 if you're in the USA, for the smaller or full box size option. So, for the most part, a bunch of miniatures. Just factor in the fact that as of right now, until you get further confirmation, the tariffs are kind of in a US backers will have to pay something. How much that something is could be a very large range, because their last information is based on the 54% amount. With that, we're going to go into the not yet funding category, and this one I'm a little bit surprised by, but also I understand. We have $126,000 raised, which is usually not a number that goes in the not yet funding category, but a $284,000 goal. This is from Board Cubator with 1,500 backers, 23 days to go, and it's for the Project L series as well as Square One, which I guess technically is part of the Project L series. But there's basically two distinct games using the same basic framework. There's Project L, there's Square One, and then there's the full all-ins of all of those. There's also a new Square One expansion here, so there is new content going on in this campaign, but it's also an opportunity to get previous Project L stuff if you didn't already. Project L and Square One are basically both tableau building polyomino games. They're games where you're trying to gather polyominoes and using a limited number of actions trying to fill out your boards, and you take these master actions to fill out your boards as efficiently as possible, while you then trade in your boards for upgraded polyominoes to be able to do the same better and faster every single time you go through it. That's the core basic idea of it. It's very fascinating as far as the combination of genres that it does very well, both polyominoes and tableau building, and really gives you a fun challenge. And each Project L and Square One both have a bunch of small mini expansions to further enhance and change up the gameplay. Square One has a different aspect to it. For me, myself, personally, I think Project L is fantastic and amazing and incredible, and I think Square One is very, very, very good. I just prefer the polyomino pieces of Project L, versus Square One abstracts those a bit more in exchange for a time-based aspect to the game. So a little bit more of a challenge, but removing those polyomino chunky pieces, which I very, very much like. So Square One's great, I just prefer Project L over it. But outside of that, We have a few options over here. We have the 85 euro over here. And again, keep in mind, this is not funded yet. We'll come back to that soon. With 23 days to go on this game, a game this popular, it may well fund, but obviously the State of the Unknown definitely has some degrees of question marks, and that State of the Unknown applies to the tariffs as well, which we'll get to soon over here. But we have returning backers, 15 euro over here for the new Square One expansion. Then we have the Project L Collectors All In for 85 euro. We have the Square One Collectors All In, which includes that new content, for 85 euro, and those are the pledge levels. As far as tariffs, was it in risks? Let's see, navigating tariffs together. Here we go. So tariffs are not in your pledge title. They can't absorb these costs. They are going to need to collect the pledge. They're going to need to collect the U.S. import tariffs. So they do clarify there are two options, although again, there's asterisks around this options over here. We have option one is going to be that it's from the U.S. shipping hub, and you have to pay this much extra in tariffs based on the current rate. Again, depending on rates change, maybe rates won't last. Like they talk about how with the current 145 U.S. tariff, hopefully it won't last, and I agree with that, hopefully. But they give you kind of proposed options here. Then they also give you the FedEx directly from the warehouse. So if you FedEx directly from the warehouse, you'll have to pay additional shipping costs, but hopefully you will get the de minimis minimum, which basically there's a concept over there where if a minimum $800 threshold, it should avoid tariffs. But again, that's something that I believe is going away, which means this option should probably not be available based on my current knowledge of what's going on or not going on in the case of the de minimis. So that might be going away, so you might be left with just this option if the tariffs are in play. So if you back Project L, it is something that you are going to have to pay the tariffs on this campaign. Again, every publisher is handling it differently. We'll be going through each one, but that's going to add significantly to the price point because you're looking at $85 plus that's $37. That's on top of shipping. Shipping's going to run you, again, if you're in the US, you're looking at $13 to $26. So between the shipping and the tariffs, it can nearly double the price, which is just a lot of money. So overall, it's Project L. It's a fantastic game. I highly, highly recommend it. Before we go, I am going to pick at one little thing here, and I will say I like Boardcubator as a company. I like the people behind it. I'm still going to pick on things because I have to pick on things. But what I mean by that is, whether I like you or not, I have to be fair to all publishers I cover, and this is something that I would pick on if I didn't like you, so I'm going to pick on it as well, even though I do like you. But to that end, we have no false promises. In these uncertain times, honesty matters more than hype. While some campaigns lower their goals for the sake of claiming funded in 15 seconds, we're not willing to trade your trust for a marketing headline. I think that sounds noble and great, except Boardcubator did this with Kingdom Come Deliverance. With Kingdom Come Deliverance, they had a false funding goal, and then they canceled the campaign later. Which I get. I'm not here to blame people. I understand why that exists. I'm sympathetic to the concept of fake funding goals and all these things, but I wish this didn't sound like an accusation at other companies who are willing to chase the fake funding goal for the sake of a marketing headline because they did this themselves. I wish this had come across as, hey, in the past, we've done X, Y, and Z, but we understand the backers come first, and we've adjusted things, and we're not willing to trade that for this. That's like, you could have structured it in a way that didn't come across as we're noble and other companies aren't, when you're part of the other companies that have done this. So I saw this and I was like a little bit turned off by the phrasing of it. It may not have been intended that way, but to me it came across as a little bit of pointing at others when the finger should really be pointing at yourself. And again, I say that with understanding as to why fake funding goals do happen. But nonetheless, I didn't like the way that was phrased. Outside of that, Project L is a fantastic game. Definitely recommend checking it out if you're able to. The good news is if you do back this and it doesn't fund, it's no skin off your back. You're going to get your money back anyway. So if the only reason you're not backing this is because it's not yet funded, I recommend ignoring that and going ahead and backing. That said, it may or may not fund depending on how much critical adoption it gets on this campaign. I think it's a fantastic game, but we do live in uncertain times, and tariffs and shipping price would make the game significantly more expensive. Moving on to Kingdom Builder Family and Friends. 58 backers, $6,000 raised, 7 days to go, and honestly, there's some pretty decent deals on this one, and I believe Queen Games will be covering all the tariffs. I also believe that they produce their games in, I want to say India if I'm not mistaken, but it might be Germany, it might be, they produce their games elsewhere, so I don't think they have to deal with the tariffs, or at least not more than the 10% as it currently stands. That said, we have Kingdom Builder, Family and Friends. This is a kind of dialed back version. Their Family and Friends line is a way of taking some of their games and making them smaller, but also more affordable, and reducing the premiumness of the game. So like instead of little huts, you get cubes, things like that, things that don't change the core gameplay if you're just there for the core gameplay, but if you want that premiumness, this line might not be as much for you. So Depends on what you're looking for. But Kingdom Builder is a fantastic game, highly recommended. I think it's amazing. I have the giant big box somewhere up there. No, it's on that side. Never mind, you can't see it. I have the big box over there, but I think it's a fantastic game. I love it. This small box version is giving you a more distilled version of Kingdom Builder, lower on components in order to give you a smaller price point. That price point is going to be €25. The problem is, once you factor in shipping on these things, it's usually not quite as worth it. But they do have a bunch of bundles, and if you want some of these games, the bundles can be worth it. We have the Alhambra small box version over here, €20 for that. We have the Star Explorer. I think this game's fantastic, by the way. You can check out my review of it. I think it really surprised me on this one. But Star Explorer and Kingdom Builder for €45. We have all three for €60. And then this bundle, which includes Dabuala, Alhambra, Kingdom Builder, Star Explorer, and Moonlight Market, all for €90, which is a pretty decent bundle. That's €22 per game for a lot of solid games. All of these are pretty solid games. I've played all of them. I think they're great. Definitely check those out if you are interested. Then we have the Kingdom Builder Empire Edition for €145. And then we also have Alhambra with Kingdom Builder for €200. So a typical Queen Games campaign with a lot of different options. But some of these bundles, again, this bundle over here is this bundle one, the cheap one over here. This bundle over here, there's only 6 people backing it. I think it's a pretty solid bundle at €22 per game. But you are looking over here as far as shipping goes. Shipping, you're going to have to factor in the US over here, 15, 17, 19, or 25, depending on what you're getting. That will add to the cost. And as far as tariffs, they basically say we don't anticipate shipments from this campaign being assessed any additional tariffs. However, if that changes, backers will not have to pay them, as we will pay an extra cost. And that's important. They say we don't anticipate them actually being assessed extra tariffs, but if they are, we will cover those costs. So it sounds like they are not going to be charging any extra tariffs, at least based on the statements they're making on this campaign. That's for Kingdom Builder. From there, we have Fairytale. Fairytale for Smart Up, €249,000 raised, 1,300 backers. Fairytale is a kind of semi-choose-your-own-adventure, semi-dungeon crawler exploration game in which you take control of various characters, go on adventures, interact with the various characters, make choices as far as how you proceed in each adventure. Each adventure very much is a branching pathway that gives you multiple ways to reach the conclusion and different things that can happen along the way, all while going through, I think the base game has 8 adventures plus whatever stretch goals add, and then there's also expansions that will give you more adventures in case you want all of that. So that's kind of a general overview of it. You can check out a gameplay on the channel or a ton of other content as well. The core pledge for this is going to be €89 for the core pledge of everything. We have the all-in pledge for €169. This gives you all the gameplay content over here. The various expansions, we'll go through this all shortly so you can see it. And yes, for those of you who are looking at this campaign, as cute as that log is, I definitely fall in the camp of being the kind of person who thinks that's very cool. I don't want that on my shelf. And they did address that. They do have an all-in box for you people who want something that's not as creative, but more just fits on your shelf. And again, I think it's very cool. If you check out the prototype, if you check out the gameplay, I have the prototype and all that. I think it's a very cool log. I just don't want it on my shelf. I want a regular box on my shelf, and they have heard backers' comments on that, and they are going to be addressing that. Just want to cover that before we go further into it. Outside of that, as far as the campaign, we have all these stretch goals again. Like I said, there's going to be more scenarios, more upgraded components, all these various things. But for the base game over here, let's go through down over here. So we have, again, €169 for the all-in, €89 for the core game, and then we have the individual breakdowns of each thing. And to that end, let's see if we can find, there we go. Okay, so the base game over here. The base game is going to be €89. They have stretch pay, all those things. But they basically talk about, they have, I believe, 8 campaigns, 8 missions to go through. They call them highly replayable. From the one I've played, I definitely say it's repeatable. I don't know how highly repeatable there is. I think I got to see a decent amount in the adventure, but I don't know either what's changing or alternatively just, the different adventures they have. But there definitely is repeatable to an extent because you could take different branching pathways and have different things happen or not happen along the adventure. As far as this part over here, we have the choose your preferred box. So they are giving you a box based on backer feedback. And then outside of that, we have an ink wash option for the miniatures. And then we have the various expansions over here. So let me scroll down to the expansions. The Beloved Class expansions. Oh, and you could play it on TTS if you are interested in doing so. As far as the Beloved Classic expansion, this is going to be bringing you classic fairy tales to life with 10 more adventures to go through. So you have 8 in the core game plus stretch goals, and then you have 10 more to go through in this, 10 replayable scenarios in this. So it's going to add significantly to your gameplay experience because it's going to be doubling and more your scenarios. And then we have the same thing with moral dilemmas over here, giving you various choices you have to make along the way, more tough choices to go through in these adventures, and again, more content, but also 10 more scenarios, 10 replayable scenarios to go through. So that's everything you got with Fairytale, the expansions, the all-ins, all of that. As far as shipping over here is going to run you anywhere between $20 to $25 25 all the way up to 25 to 30 for the shipping alone. And the tariffs, they basically say, we believe things will settle down, but if not, no US backer will have to pay more than $19, similar to what EU backers pay in VAT. So they are saying, yes, you might have to pay something if things don't settle down, but it sounds like they're trying to cap that at $19, specifically dollars, yeah, just making sure it's not says euros. So $19 is what they are capping it at, and then they talk about different options or things, but again, they hope that tariffs will go away, which most creators are, but everyone has to offer these campaigns with the state of unknown around them. So that's going to be Fairytale, trying to limit your exposure, but also hoping that tariffs go away in general. Then we have War in the Pacific, a World War II roll and write game. This is going to be a digital game, a digital print and play game, so you don't have to worry about tariffs on this. 159 backers, $1,068 raised, 9 days to go. Coming to you from Solo War Game, this is a solo war game. It's going to have you rolling a handful of dice. You're going to be checking events each round. They're going to be rolling a handful of dice, I think 6 or 7 dice, assigned to various zones over here as you go through the solo puzzle. I don't know a ton about how to play this one, but roll handfuls of dice, assign them, go through all that. As far as the pledge levels, we have $4 for the digital copy of War in the Pacific, and then we have $19 for the Mega Rollout Bundle, giving you 5 different games themed in this kind of setting or whatnot. And yes, they also give you a low ink version of the game sheet and rulebook for those who don't want to deal with, printing out full color and all that. That's kind of the game. It's nothing really crazy over here. Every once in a while, we do feature print and plays in this 2-back not to back. It's actually been a while since I featured a print and play roll and write. I feel there was a point where they were all over the place, and I think they've scaled down a little bit. But either way, War in the Pacific, a World War II roll and write game. Then we have a War of Whispers, Expansions of Influence. 983 backers, $41,000 raised, 10 days to go. This is coming to you from Tabletop Tycoon from Starling Games. This is bringing you the newest expansion for A War of Whispers. A War of Whispers is an area control game, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that because it's an area control game where you kind of secretly take stock in various factions and then try to manipulate things from behind the sidelines. So not your typical, here's my army, let me go ahead and attack you, but a lot more nuanced as far as how the game operates. It's a game, honestly, I've had my copy for who knows long, and I've actually played my copy. I probably should at some point or just let it go, but I remember I got it way back in the day when Shut Up and Sit Down was raving about it. It was impossible to get your hands on it. It's been a while, but War of Whispers, this is the newest expansion for it. I believe they had the original campaign, a follow-up campaign, and now they have this one giving you new content for the game. As far as the new content, they have rebalanced setup rules, a new clan for the game, the guilds giving you unique agent abilities, as well as a 5th player who is going to use the Orca and the guilds in the game, and then a double-sided game board with customized scenario and alternate setup rules. That's what you're getting in the expansion. The expansion is going to be $29 for those who just want the expansion, and then $99 for those who want absolutely everything. As far as tariffs was a little complicated in this one. Let's go to shipping first. Shipping is going to run you anywhere between $18.24 to $21.27, depending on what you're getting. And then as far as tariffs, they cover that in the first update. And it's a little vague, so again, we're one of those things where I don't know exactly how to read into this. They say, we see you in the comments regarding the tariffs. We do recognize their potential impact. We want to reassure our backers we're working on ways to actively mitigate their effects on current and future crowdfunding campaigns. That doesn't tell me a lot, unfortunately. It says, and this says we're going to be, regardless of tariffs, we're going to be telling you, okay, great. We also confirm, beyond our estimated shipping, if for whatever reason it does get beyond the range, so the tariffs, we promise to refund for any backers and those affected. So again, it sounds like it's mostly going to be some degree of control, but also not fully laid out as far as exactly what it'll be, but giving you options for refunds. So it's kind of a little bit in that zone of trying to mitigate, offering you possible refunds if you need to, but that's going to be as far as they're. A little vaguer on this one. Moving on, we have Dicemancy. Dicemancy coming to you from Gay Barrett, solo game of the month club, $38,000 raised, 1,200 backers. Dicemancy is a tower defense solo game of trying to manipulate dice and cards and abilities in order to hold off the impending horde. You're going to have creatures attacking on a regular basis. When you kill them, you will add their ability side to your growing pool of abilities, and you're trying to combo them all up with broken spell combinations, which is exactly how you get me. I love broken spell combinations. I love anything that feels broken, except the problem is in multiplayer, you need broken to also feel balanced, which is a little trickier. But either way, this is in solo, you don't have to worry about that. In solo, you can just feel powerful. That's totally fine. As long as you also feel like it's a challenge. So you do want it to be broken, but you want it to feel like a challenge at the same time. Honestly, designing games is hard. Designing games is generally hard. That's going to be Dicemancy over here. We have Dicemancy for $25. We have the print and play for $5. And then we have the Quests Over Coffee is being offered as an add-on. This is bringing back a previous game from March of 2024. That's Quests Over Coffee if you want to go ahead and get that in this campaign. As usual, shipping is going to run you $5 or $6 for the game. And for tariffs, they basically say, hey, we don't bulk import them. We haven't been affected by tariffs. However, changes to the de minimis rule, which we talked about earlier in this video, so those rules do affect them. So they basically talked about that, and if you're not in the US, you have nothing to worry about. If you are in the US, you have nothing to worry about, as I have several options of how to handle things going forward. I just need the policy to stop changing every 15 minutes, but when the dust settles, I'm confident being able to deliver your games without exorbitant fees. Okay, so again, that doesn't say they're not charging you anything. It says he's confident he's able to minimize how much of an extra cost there will be. So a little bit in the, and he does say though, Dicemancy is using GameFound's stable pledge, so even in the worst of all scenarios, you'll be able to receive a full refund. So effectively, if there's too much of a ballooning of the cost, then they'll still give you a full refund. Now, it's worth noting, the stable pledge on GameFound does not necessarily apply to tariffs in general, but it sounds like he is applying it to tariffs, so that sounds like you're covered. Similar to what War of Whispers was saying, it sounds like they're trying to minimize, if it goes too far, you can just get a refund instead. Moving on, we have KILAUEA over here from Combo Games. 197 backers, $6,000 raised, $6,647 if we are being pedantic. This is a pure strategy game, no luck, of trying to basically chop down these various forests over here, chopping down these various blocks over here, and then scoring them based on the distribution remaining. So effectively, it's a strong Euro game where you're going to be trying to time everything as far as what's left in the center in order to maximize your own personal scoring. That's the general idea of the game. Highly interactive dynamics, easy rules, amazing look on the table. They go through rules, complexity, strategy, all of those things. You'll notice there are 0 tiki heads for luck because it's a non-luck based game. It's purely about the decisions you make, not about the dice you're rolling or the cards you draw that you didn't know were coming. That's the general idea of the game. As far as the options for the game, €27 for 1, and then €75 for 3. Nothing too complicated going on over here as far as what the campaign is. It's a pretty straightforward, direct Euro game, similar to what is happening with Kingdom Builder, just with less options for additional types of games that you can go ahead and add on. As far as shipping over here is going to be fairly expensive on the game if you are a US backer, so you're looking at €18 for the game on top of the 27. That's a big chunk of extra amount, and it doesn't help the fact that on the tariff section, they basically say, hey, we can't cover these costs, we're manufacturing, you're going to have to pay those costs if they exist. So again, hopefully they don't exist by the time this is having to charge those, but if it does, you are going to have to pay those costs, which means the price of the game between shipping and tariffs is effectively more than doubling. Probably, well, I shouldn't say more than doubling, likely more than doubling, depends exactly how much the tariffs come in on this particular game. I should note, by the way, and this is true for all creators, there's no blame in this for me, meaning some creators are able to cover the costs in some ways, some are not. Every creator is going to be a little different as far as what they do, and everyone's just doing their best to survive. My goal here is to inform you, not to be like, that creator is covering the tariffs and that creator is not. There's no good or bad answers. There's just creators trying to be sustainable. I read a thread recently on Board Game Geek talking about Final Frontier, where some people were like, well, they should have charged shipping during COVID when the shipping prices rose. They should have charged shipping, which is a very easy thing to look back on and say, to look back at a situation where a publisher made bad decisions because they were just trying to make backers happy, and you say, well, you shouldn't have done that. It's easy to do that in hindsight. In the moment, backers don't like getting that extra bill. So it's very easy to look at a campaign and be like, that company's giving me the free tariffs, that company's not. Everyone's doing the best they can, and I encourage all companies to make whatever decisions you need to make in order to make things sustainable. And that's going to be a different set of rules for every single company. I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to inform. Well, I do judge too, but that's different content, different videos. This one, and like some occasional, peanut gallery comments that I'll make at some points during campaigns. When it comes to tariffs, I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to inform. Anyway, moving on over here, we have Solar Titans. Solar Titans, this is the definitive edition of Solar Titans. It's already in crowdfunding. They are coming back with some degree of new content, some degree of rebalanced decks, all that. We have 511 backers, $8,000 raised, 15 days to go. Solar Titans is a deck building game which you're going to be building out your ship as you play. You're basically building out your ship by drawing these cards, placing them down, and you're going to have offensive things, defensive things, all this stuff as you deck build your way into a better ship. We have $25 for the definitive edition of the game. That's the new version of the game with all the streamlined, well, everything's not necessarily streamlined, the changes, the differences. And then we have the upgrade pack available for $4 as well. So if you are a previous backer, you could just get the upgrade pack instead. As far as the definitive edition over here, what's new? Let's go to the what's new. We have 2 US tariffs. Let's do new cards, then tariffs. New cards, basically they are going to be increasing the number of unique market cards from 29 to 38, so going to be 9 additional market cards in the game, that's jumping up by 30%, and they're also rebalancing the market with 80 cards from 72 to ensure optimal distribution. So basically they're changing out the market distribution as well as adding more cards to the game so you can get more variety to the experience. That's the main changes going on here. As far as tariffs go, basically they say that they're going to absorb the cost of US tariffs. Let me see, updated 15th of April, let me see. We absorb the cost of the US tariffs when negotiating with the manufacturer. Yeah, so it sounds like they're completely absorbing the cost, which I can't remember if that was the same the last time I saw it. Was it in risks? No. Maybe that's just what they changed. I don't remember if that was, again, I do the research on all these campaigns beforehand, but I don't remember what everyone said. But yeah, sounds like they are absorbing the cost of tariffs themselves, so you don't have to worry about that on your end. It does help that this is a cheaper, small card game, so it's not going to a card-based game, so it's not going to be a ton of component cost to it. But nonetheless, they're basically picking up those costs. As far as shipping, on the other hand, shipping is going to be $10 to $14 for the full game and $4 to $8 for the upgrade pack only. And again, this is a deck building. This has a solo mode too, by the way. It has a solo mode. It actually has several games. I think it has like 5 different game modes of the game. But the basic idea is deck build and then build out your optimal ship and blast your opponent to smithereens. From there, we have 2 more campaigns to do. We have Escape from Stalingrad Reloaded over here. $121,000 raised, 600 backers, 17 days left to go. This is the newest version of Escape from Stalingrad, which as far as like new content, actually let's cover what's new in the game. Let's see what's new and what's changed. So over here, they're basically taking the accessory set, which is taking some of the components in the base game and putting in a separate accessory set, so there's the same degree of quality and deluxification, but they're taking it out of the base game, so the base game has a lower price point, and some things are removed. They removed double layer dashboards, removed wooden tokens, updated all up in the gear cart markers to the new size. So they're basically making changes to the base game, but some of the things they removed are going into an upgrade kit, so they are still available, just shifted out from the base game to make the base game more affordable. Stories from Stalingrad Z expansion has 4 mini campaigns with 12 scenarios over here, and they go through this over here, going through the miniatures, all the sculpts, all that stuff, all the various the rules and scenario book reprint, allowing the original owners to just purchase that if you want, so you can also just get the rulebook for original owners. That's kind of all the stuff being changed or new in this Reload edition of the game. As far as the game is more of a classic dungeon crawler where you're basically controlling your various characters and then just defeating all these, these Nazi zombies, effectively. You're defeating all the Nazi zombies in the game as you try to survive, going through this scenario-based game where these zombies are shuffling ever closer towards you, and you're trying to deal with the scenario rules and the specific maps that you have in this flipbook situation, and then either dealing with various standees in some of the cheaper versions of the game, or having all the miniatures in some of the various deluxe extras. Which I guess brings us to the various rewards. We have $209 Canadian, that's going to be roughly $149 US for the full-on everything over here. Well, not everything is over here for $490 or $359 US over here. That's the everything. But the everything in this like slipcover over here is basically giving you the core box, the accessories, the hero miniatures, the evolved zombie miniatures, the beta zombie miniatures, the reloaded print and play, and the deluxe ammo box sleeve. That's what you're getting in this pledge over here for $149 US. You have the base game for $49 over here. That's giving you the base game, pretty straightforward, but the budget option if you just want to get the game, not pay for all the premium extras. And then down here we have the various veterans, the lock and load, and then the full massive double everything ever released for the game for $359. That's a whole lot of zombie stuff, but 56 people want a whole lot of zombie stuff for this game. You have all the various add-ons available individually, and that's basically what we have for Escape from Stalingrad Reloaded. As far as shipping is going to run you, let's see over here, for US, for the rulebook itself is going to be free on its own, and then outside of that for US it's going to be $19 all the way up to $49, and of course check your various zones. I do believe these prices are in Canadian dollars. I couldn't see it for sure, but based on the fact that the rest of the campaign is, I think these prices for shipping are in Canadian dollars, and that does make a difference. But outside of that, as far as tariffs, basically, when it comes to tariffs over here, they basically say, hey, we have a discretionary fund set aside to proactively address these things. And so regarding the various tariffs, we're going to absorb most of the costs if tariffs hold without asking backers to pay for anything extra. If it's deemed absolutely necessary, they may increase up to 10% on US backers. So again, it's very much mitigated over here. They're saying, hey, we hope to charge you nothing. At most, we're going to increase our costs up to 10%. It seems pretty straightforward as far as where they're limiting your exposure as a US backer, and they hope to just cover it all themselves. Obviously, again, everyone's hoping the tariffs go away, and they're just making plans around them outside of that. That's going to be Escape from Stalingrad Z Reloaded. Which brings us to our last campaign of the day. We have 299 backers, $28,000 raised, 23 days to go on Diceverse. Diceverse from Shweli Games is a fast-paced setup of the dice game, roll some dice, and then just go head-to-head with 4 asymmetric factions. That's the basic idea. You literally just jump the dice of the 2 factions onto the table, they'll land in various zones, and then you're using 1 of 4, well, I guess 2 of 4, because 2 sides, 2 of 4 asymmetric factions from the aliens, cultists, elementalists, or necromancers, all giving you a whole lot of different abilities. Like, check out the video. The video is like really, I went from not knowing about this game at all to being pretty intrigued by it just based on the video alone. So check that out over there. But basically, you're going to be utilizing your unique faction abilities while utilizing the dice that just rolled all over the table, and then playing cards and activating those various dice one at a time as you try to take out your opponent. So literally it's meant to be fast-paced combat, games play in 30 minutes and all that, while using tons tons of powers and abilities and different factions to keep the game, different and all that. Outside of that, they also have a Fly Further, another game over here, available in the DICEVERSE All-In Edition over here. Fly Further, meant to be another fast-paced game over here. You pick a planet, pick a card, and then go head-to-head to see who basically manages to win each round. That's kind of the idea. You see a planet, everyone vies for it with their cards, discard the play cards, rinse and repeat as you go through the planet. So again, meant to be pretty fast-paced, looks cool. Both these games kind of look intriguing to me. Don't know anything about them past the campaign itself, so I have not played these games, but they do both look interesting. Pledge level is going to be $99 for the DICEVERSE All-In. That gives you all the bling for DICEVERSE, as well as Fly Further. We have DICEVERSE alone for $49. We have DICEVERSE along with the Deluxe Edition over here for $69. And then we have the Deluxe Edition as well as the Relics of the Void expansion for $79. Those are going to be the various pledge levels. Shipping over here is going to run you, US is going to run you US is going to be $15, $20. And again, check out your zone for your own numbers. And then as far as tariffs, where are the tariffs over here? Basically, they say, hey, this means we challenging small business. We have already planned some tariff impact and priced our game at the best possible price point. If there are significant changes, we may need to add to the shipping costs for US backers. So again, not really a specific guarantee here. They're basically saying, hey, we've tried to do what we could, and depending on how things go, we may have to add to the price point. So a little bit of the unknown as far as this campaign goes. And that is everything, which means it is time for my picks of the month. Picks of the month, as usual, are going to be my personal interest pick of the month, the game that I'm most personally interested from the various games that are on crowdfunding today. And then separately from that, there's the one that I think is most likely to hold its value. Picks of the month, I am going to choose two for my personal interest. And the reason for that is because one of them is Project L, which is in the not yet funding category, which I don't easily choose from. But I definitely think Project L is a fantastic game. You should check this one out by all costs if you can. So definitely check this out if you are in any way interested, because I think it's a fantastic polyomino tableau building game. As far as my backup pick of the month, I am going to give it to Kingdom Builder with an asterisk, because I haven't played this smaller box version of Kingdom Builder, so I don't know how much the component quality might make a difference to my own personal opinion of it. I think Kingdom Builder is fantastic and I highly recommend it. This is a budget version of it, which again, pros and cons whenever you're talking about a budget version of a game. As far as the game that's most likely to hold its value, I don't know if I felt anything this particular month was I'm confident enough on to be able to give it a value pick of the month. So we're going to have two picks of the month as far as personal interest, but nothing here. Like when it comes to value picks of the month, I do want to actually be confident of. Like Escape from Stalingrad Z Reloaded might be the closest based on the aftermarket price on these games in general and on his series and being well received. But also this one is doing worse than some of his past campaigns, and I don't know if that's fatigued with the series or alternatively with the unknown around tariffs. So this is the closest I get to my value pick of the month, but I'm not officially assigning one this particular month. As far as week, not month. As far as upcoming campaigns, we have launching tomorrow. We have Tricarion launching very, very shortly for Mind Clash Games, the deluxe 10-year anniversary edition, and then we have This War of Mine 2nd edition from Awakened Realms launching later this week with 24,000 people following the campaign, bringing you a newer deluxe-fied version of This War of Mine, the board game. And that is everything. Until next week, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one. I figure that after warning you that there would be jokes, I have to wait longer than 7 seconds this week. But there are jokes. There is a dad joke, okay? Usually I don't say that there's a dad joke, I just do the dad joke, but this week is an exception, okay? The exception for this week. Anyways, fun fact, did you know that koi fish always travel in groups of 4? That way, if they're attacked, the A, B, and C fish can run away, and the decoy remains.